Hey guys, it's Phil coming at you with another video. Thank you guys so much for the amount of support that you guys have shown. It's amazing, and I'm sorry that I'm uploading the video a little later than I normally would. The study group last night went over by quite a bit of time. Anyone that was in the group knows that I did stay like 2 hours after answering various types of questions that you guys had, whether on how to prepare for the exam, what are some prep tips. And I just wanted to get into a couple people passed this past week, which is super duper amazing. So if you do pass and you're using my stuff, just reach out to me. I'll just give you a shout out as well. So the two people that we have is Vandella and the LaQuanta. So congratulations to those people. I'm amazed that when people pass using my style as well as like the videos to get it done. And good luck to Taylor and Melissa on their exams tomorrow. Hype there. That's super duper cool. And yeah, just a topic that I'm going to touch base on a little bit that a lot of people have been asking about is like, so I took the ASWB practice exam. This is the score I got. This is the score I needed. Am I ready? So that's a tough question. However, my direct insight on that would be that it's not the score that you get on the exam. It's how you feel during taking that exam. So if you feel like you can break down the questions, you might have second guessed yourself. Like the number one rule that I tell people is not to second guess at all. Like you're more intelligent than you give yourself a warrant to. So believe in yourself, trust yourself, and the rest will come. Like the more confident that you feel in the exam room, the more dangerous you are. Like the more confident you are, the more competent you're end up going to be. So my answer to that question of, hey, I scored lower than I thought I would on the ASWB practice exam, should I still be ready to take the exam? The answer is it all depends on your comfort as well as what you're looking to get out of it. So when you take these practice exams as well as the questions that I provide and make myself, like figure out what the question is asking you, and if you're able to navigate and explain why some answers are correct and why other answers are incorrect, and then you'll be better off than if you get it right or wrong. Like don't be so amped on that, because when you're in the exam room, it's not, you don't know if you get the answers right or wrong. So trust and believe in your guys' self. Like it's gonna take you farther than anything, farther than the acronym can take you. That's just a guideline. It's just you and the exam when you're in the exam room. But with that being said, let's get into the content today, guys. If you guys have any other questions, feel free to submit them. I do answer and try to get back to people as much as possible, but I am a busy person sometimes, but never too busy to help people. But let's see what we can do today. So I do offer private tutoring. It is starting to get booked up a little faster than I would have liked to, which is not a bad thing. So if I don't get back to you or email you within like a day, send me another email, but just give me at least like a 24-hour window to get back to you guys, because I do tend to get a lot of emails, which I really appreciate. And my next study group is going to be on human developmental theories, Erikson's, Piaget's, Kohlberg's, and if we can fit like Mueller's in there as well, we'll get that done. However, those that haven't really joined the study group, I can explain kind of like the breakdown. I go over the specific content. You can ask me any questions that you guys have on it throughout it, and then I do provide around 5 to 7 practice questions. And if you guys want more during the study group, I've been known to type them up just in front of you guys, so you guys get to see the system in my mind at work while doing that. And as well as I said before, during the study groups, I do stay after like around 30 to an hour, and the last time was like 2 hours of time. So that is something. So if you have questions that you're wanting to ask me, that's probably the best way to connect with me, because it's a specific amount of time that I dedicate specifically to you guys and tailor it to your needs. So the topics that we go over are based on what people want in the previous groups. So the way to get involved in the study groups is to send me an email. I can send you specific details on that, and we can get that around. So the first question: a social worker is meeting with a 26-year-old female who describes a situation where her boyfriend yelled at her and hit her. The woman appears to be in distress when describing the situation and often takes longer pauses to reflect. At the end of her description, the client states, "I just want to live a happy life." What would be the best action for the social worker to take in this situation? So the key person that we're keying in on here is the 26-year-old female. And we have a potential domestic violence situation going on here. And she's describing it and taking long pauses to reflect. So there is some type of impact that this situation is having on the client, and that will be probably the primary topic or issue that we help the person work through. And then at the end of the description, so she's already completed doing her description, so she's provided the information that she's trying to relay to us, and her overall goal is just to be happy within her own situation. And we're looking at a best question, so that's always going to get our senses keyed up for either application and or reasoning, but this time it's going to be an application because we need to have some knowledge of what the therapeutic process looks like and how to navigate this. We have a client that's potentially in discomfort, and we need to actually mitigate and then progress beyond that. So since it's an application question, we can utilize the acronym to the best of our abilities as a guideline. Like I said, better to understand what's going on in the question rather than just keying in on the acronym as the main driver. However, A, provide information regarding different domestic violence shelters in the area. So since we would be providing information to the client, that is always going to be an educate option. Since we are providing something, so it would be considered an intervention. However, since it is specific, screen's kind of spazzing out, sorry about that, guys. Specific information, that would be an educate. Report their abuse to the appropriate authorities. So that is going to be an intervene here, and since there isn't no direct concerns around harm to her, she is describing a domestic violence type situation. However, it's not like a tear soft situation where she's saying like, when I get home I'm gonna get beat up, or I'm at risk of dying, or she's not saying that she's going to do that. So there's no duty to warn here, or telling the appropriate authorities isn't going to do a whole lot since the abuse isn't happening at that very moment. Investigate what the client meant by her statement. So the word investigate is always going to mean that we're either doing feelings, getting some subjective information from the client, or assess, which is getting objective clinical information. So since it's investigating what the client meant by something that they said, we're going to be looking at a feelings option here because it's going to open us up to a deeper analysis of what the client is specifically meaning here. And then remain silent to allow for the client to gather her thoughts. So remaining silent may seem like it's not a whole lot of an action. However, an inaction is ultimately an action as well. So then we're going to be looking at intervene. However, there is no sense for or need for the client to reflect any further. As I highlighted in the response, she's done with her description. So it's not like she needs long pauses like she did while she was describing it. She's now waiting for some type of action, and the silence can be utilized to help promote connection as well as more or less analysis. However, in this situation, it would not be the most appropriate. So we'll rule out remain silent, and we'll rule out reporting the abuse. So this begs the question of, do we have enough information, or do we need to get more subjective information from the client, or are we going to jump right in and provide information on domestic violence shelters? So since feelings is above educate, and the client did make kind of a vague statement, it opens the door where we need to inquire more information rather than giving specific domestic violence situations. So let's say we did that option and the client didn't want to work or address that. Then we would be doing an inappropriate action and putting ourselves where we think the client should be going. So C would be the correct answer here because we need to understand what the client specifically wants to get out of the treatment without assuming anything. So then the next question, a social worker at a community health clinic is working with a 19-year-old female who reports struggling with symptoms of anxiety. The woman reports she recently had a dance recital that she messed up in. and it cost her team the championship. The social worker believes that her daughter is on the same team as the client. The social worker believes she can still effectively work with the client. What would be the best thing for the social worker to do in this situation? So we're a social worker at a community health clinic, so that gets us in the mindset we're in an outpatient type setting and we need to assess and then get some type of treatment. Who is the person of interest? A 19-year-old female. And what is she presenting with? Some symptoms of anxiety. And the anxiety is provoked that she messed up at a dance recital and she believes she cost her team a championship. However, the question takes a spin here, and the social worker believes that her daughter is on the same team as the client. However, social worker asserts that they believe that they can best still suit the client. So this is going to be application reasoning, specifically on the ethics, and it's an application because we need the social worker code of ethics to guide and answer the question, but ultimately we're coming up to a solution to a problem that has happened indirectly throughout the work with this client. And keep in mind, there's no really stages of what the treatment is, so we don't need to add what is not already in the question. So keep that in mind as we go through this. Continue to work with the client since she believes there is no issue. Discuss the information to the client and allow her to have self-determination in her own treatment. C, refer the client to another therapist at the agency. D, continue seeing the client but have her daughter switch dance programs. Tricky, guys. Tricky. So we'll come from the bottom here. So we wouldn't want to continue seeing the client but have the daughter switch dance programs, because that would just be super inconvenient based on the social workers, as well as we're here to help clients, but we ultimately aren't going to mold our entire lives based on a specific client, as well as since there's possibly other options rather than taking such an extreme extent just to assist this client. So refer the client to another therapist at the agency. That's a possibility. So we'll keep that one available as we examine the other options. And there's nothing wrong with doing that during the exam. You're like, this one seems very plausible. You don't have to rule out all of them and come up with a solution immediately. We do have some time when considering questions. Some questions are quicker than others, so that way we need to take it at our own pace. Like I said, where there's predictability, there's comfortability, so we need to make the situation as comfortable as possible for us. Discuss the information to the client, allow her to have self-determination in her own treatment. Would be incorrect here. Yes, we want to allow clients to have self-determination within their own treatment and situations and dictate where things are going. However, disclosing a relationship to a client and letting them decide puts them in a weird situation of like, sure, yeah, you can still be my therapist, but on the background, it could put the social worker in an awkward situation. So let's say the social worker's at another dance recital with her daughter, and then the client becomes distressed. The 19-year-old female who is the client becomes distressed and then comes up with the social worker and wants advice and like therapy type session while at the dance recital. Puts the social worker in a weird spot, and if the client automatically knows that that is a possibility, it opens the door to things that we ultimately wouldn't want to have happen. And for the same rationale, we wouldn't continue since the social worker believes that there's no issue, because the social worker would ultimately need to do what's right. And my recommendations for this is to be safe rather than sorry later on. Like, if you feel like this is a potential dual relationship or conflict of interest, then you'd want to refer out. The client is not going to get any less services. It's just, if you're not able to stay objective in the situation and your perspective is starting to become subjective, that is when you would want to refer the client out for your sanity as well as their benefit in the treatment realm. So that'd be the correct answer there. And then the next question, a social worker is working with an 11, whoops, yeah, we'll toggle it down. So that way it's on the same page for you guys. Oops. Okay, so a social worker is working with an 11-year-old boy who is presenting with anxiety around feeling like he's different from his peers. The boy reports that he's been finding it difficult to focus while in class because he is becoming sexually aroused by his female classmates. The boy reports that he has tried everything to keep his mind on school, but nothing has helped. What stage of this psychosexual theory best describes the boy's situation? Good old Freudian theory, guys. So this one is definitely going to be an application, no acronym, because it's deeper than recall here, but it's kind of recall-ish, but we need to apply more than just specific right off the top here. The client is presenting with some type of clinical breakdown, so we need to make the connections with those symptomologies to the actual stage. So the social worker is working with an 11-year-old boy, so that's the person of interest there. What are they presenting with? Anxiety, because they feel isolated from their peers, more or less. Difficulty focusing in class, and where's the focus coming? Because he's coming sexually aroused. So that we need to keep in mind which Freudian psychosexual involves that. And then the boy expresses that he's tried everything but nothing has helped. And then we would need to know this psychosexual theory, or the stages of that theory, to guide us to the answer. So with this, the ages can be important, but they often can sway you off as well. So the ages here is going to be 2 to 3 years old. Oral is going to be 1 to 3 years old. Latent is 6 to puberty. And then this one is going to be puberty to death slash, well, puberty to onward. And with that, we need to know the basic facts about within the specific stages as well, because we don't want to get too hung up on the ages, because let's say the person is developmentally advanced and or delayed. So let's get in it. So anal is more or less around like the rearing as well as potty training. So this person isn't really have any concerns about potty training, and the huge thing within the anal stages is the person anal retentive or anal explosive. So anal retentive and explosive is the person like loosely associated, like wasteful or unable to focus based on things being disarrayed. And then so that is not the case here, so that is not going to be there. So there's no difficulties. It doesn't cite any difficulties with any like toilet training that would lead to these issues, so that is not the case here. Oral is going to be incorrect here, because oral is where there's a lot of fixation based on the mouth, and it's typically seen for survival and as well as like getting the people like off of breastfeeding. So the weaning process is important here, so that's not really going to be a consideration when we look at it. So we have the two later stages, the latent and the genital. And the two ways to differentiate this is the latent, you can highlight the word late here, and then genital, if you think of genitalia or the use of one's sexual parts. So late here would be someone's sexual urges are suppressed and they are more focused on building relationships. So to highlight the word late here, the sexual urges are going to be later on than this stage that we're currently in. And then the genital is when the suppressed sexual urges of the latent stage are activated and they begin to have attraction to others, often associated with experimenting with people in sexual ways. So we're going to ultimately rule out the latent, even though the age range for the 11 years old meets that more than it does the genital. The genital stage defines it more. So that is where the age isn't always the most important thing in the consideration. So it's important to know that the specific age, but ultimately what's going on in the stages to be able to define and differentiate it more than that. So that's where needing to know your theories and the specifics within the theories, not just the ages and the stages, can be helpful. So that is how we would answer that question. Question 4. A social worker working at a nonprofit outpatient clinic just completed an intake assessment with a 7-year-old man and a 65-year-old wife. They reported having relationship problems due to the decrease in their sex life. The woman reports that she feels like her husband is no longer attracted to her and that he does not want to be around her as much. The man reports that he is sexually attracted to her and that he does not see any issues in their relationship. The social worker does not have any experience in couples therapy, but he feels like he can handle the case. What is the best action for the social worker to take? So this one, we're looking at an entire application question, and there's going to be some acronym involved in this because we have a clinical breakdown. It's asking us what we should do to best meet the client's needs. So we'll follow the same process of working at an outpatient nonprofit clinic. So what do we just do? Completed an intake assessment. So we need to be keen in on either referring and or scheduling them another appointment. Who are we working with here? So it's a couple, 70-year-old man and 65-year-old wife, presenting relationship problems. And why are they coming? Due to decrease in the sex life. So we have one account, which is the woman's, and she feels like her husband is no longer attracted and that he doesn't want to be around her. The second account of the man saying that he's attracted to her and he sees zero issue. So we'll put this in green to differentiate the two perspectives. And then it throws in the social worker has no experience in couples therapy. However, another social worker that feels that they can handle the case. So what should we do with it? Schedule another appointment with the couple to help them improve their relationship. So this one is going to be intervene. We're doing something. We're scheduling an appointment. So remember, intervene is anything that involves an action with the social worker specifically. Provide information on healthy relationship dynamics to best equip the clients for couples. So remember, this is providing information, and whenever we're providing information, it's going to be an educate. Refer the couple to another therapist with more experience with working with couples. We're looking at a refer option because we're sending them away from us, but still within the same agency. Or it could be we're sending them away from us into a different agency provider. Provide the couple with a list of interventions they can do at home. So we're providing a list of interventions. So that's not, could be considered educate. However, we're wanting them to do it at home. And I'll change that from yellow because that's typically the correct answer. So I apologize. So a list of interventions and we want them to do at home. So that's the key thing. And whenever it's something that we want the clients to specifically do on their own, they're the ones that are delivering the intervention, we're going to be looking at an advocate type question or response. So with that, the most appropriate thing would not be to schedule another appointment, because the social worker doesn't have the experience to best help this couple at this time. So we wouldn't want to schedule another appointment and ignore the fact that the experience isn't there, the competence isn't there. Because as social workers, we always want to make sure that we're competent and experienced in the things that we're particularly doing. So the next thing that we would want to rule out is to educate. Providing them information on healthy relationship dynamics may help them, and yeah, it will help them get prepared for couples therapy. However, that's not the thing that we'd want to do first, and that's not the best thing that we could possibly do to help the couple at this given moment. There's bigger fish to fry, and we need to make sure that the people are best taken care of in the moment rather than trying to substitute something in. And we wouldn't want to send them home for them to do the specific intervention. They came to our agency for a reason, and we're not the direct therapist that would ideally be the ones that are delivering the service. So we could do all of these positive things for them. Yes, it would help promote change. However, connecting them to a therapist that is experienced in the area that they need, which is the couples therapy, would best suit them, and then we could leave the other options up to the other providers and refer as the highest option on the acronym. So that is how you would break down a question that's deeper down than just the feeling, the typical safety feelings assessed. So for those of you that wanted to see the acronym applied deeper down, that was for you. And if you guys want to see more of those, just let me know, because like I said, these groups, these questions are all for you guys. I just do it for fun, and it's really taken off, which amazes me still to this day that you guys you're interested, you're supporting, you're wanting more, which is cool. Shows that when you guys actually take your exams, you guys are going to destroy it, because the hungrier you are for the knowledge, the better off you'll be. But so the next question: a social worker is working with a 28-year-old man who reports having episodes of depression. The man reports that he recently lost his job due to calling off too many times. The man denies having any intent of wanting to kill himself, but he just is not happy with his current situation. The man reports having previous struggles with an eating disorder, and at times will experience relapses in regards to it. What should the social worker do next? A, gather information on the client's mental health history. B, develop a safety plan with the client. C, connect the client with employment resources. And D, provide the client with a list of available resources for him to address. And I did fall out of my routine because I noticed that people were commenting, which is super cool. I just get distracted easy, guys, so sorry about that. So we're working with a 28-year-old man, and reports having episodes of depression. He recently lost his job because he was calling off. So maybe the depression was influencing that, so we want to keep that in mind. The man denies having any intent of wanting to kill himself, but is unhappy with where he's at, so that's important. No intent to kill self. Previous episode of an eating disorder, and will often relapse with the eating disorder. So there's some need of experience of how to address the eating disorder. So with this, we're looking at the next question, and we're looking at an application here, guys, because and remember, you get a client breakdown, and we need to be able to access and look through it. And yeah, so we're going to be looking at an acronym response here. Gather more information. So remember, we're gathering information. What type of information are we gathering here? Is it subjective or is it objective? And in this particular realm, we're looking more at the subjective realm of it. So with that, it's going to be an assess. So we're getting objective information based on the client's information, and we want to get more information on their mental health, like when did it start, what does it look like, how do we best adequately move on from there. Develop a safety plan. So this could be considered a safety or intervene option, but however, the client said they don't really have any intent of wanting to kill themselves at this given moment. So then we're going to tone it down to an intervene, because it's not an immediate issue that we have to address here. So we're looking at an intervene. Connect the client with employment resources. So here we're going to be connecting them. So with that, this could be considered a facilitate or intervene. Facilitate because we're connecting it for someone else to be delivering the service. However, it can be considered an intervene as well, since we're the one that's connecting them. However, I would lean more towards the facilitate, since someone else would be delivering the employment services. Provide the client with a list of available resources for him to address the various presenting problems. Remember, it's another list of resources, which could be considered an educate. However, this is for him to do it, so this is going to be an advocate option. So with that, since there's no real intent of wanting to kill himself, and that we don't have to worry about any safety concerns here, the development of a safety plan would automatically get ruled out. And they did lose their employment, but that wouldn't be the most immediate thing that we would want to address and make sure it's panned out and discussed. And thus, we're going to get more information on their mental health history, or we're going to give them resources to address the presenting problems. So remember, sometimes it's better to get more information before proceeding with things than to just be gung-ho about it. So in this particular situation, we would not go do action first. We'd want to gather information on when their mental health symptomology began, like the eating disorder. We want to see where their depression came in, why he brought up that he didn't want to kill himself, does he have a history of suicidal ideations, anything along those lines. So that way we have a better picture of what we're actually looking at. So that's how we would answer that question. And as I stated before, I do offer individualized tutoring. The spots are getting pretty filled up, and with the holidays coming, it is more difficult for me to get that people in. However, it's not impossible. Reach out to me. I'll try to work with you guys as much as possible. My next study group is this Sunday, December 2nd at 7 o'clock. The topic is Human Developmental Theories, Erikson, Piaget's, and Kohlberg's. I'll be going over the specific information and the providing practice questions based on that content, as well as any topics you'd like to see. I can construct some questions during that session if you guys are wanting them, as well as I do stay after again to talk to people about specific needs that they have and need and want. Comment any feedback on the video, and if you're in the live stream, wait to comment, because the comments that you make during the live stream don't really stay on the videos. Put a thumbs up on the video if you are watching and you do enjoy them, because the more likes that we have on the videos, the more exposure we get. And yeah, it just makes it easier for people that aren't getting the correct information to get the correct information. And subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. It just sends you an email notification every time I upload. increases your likelihood of being in the live streams live and being able to pose questions about that. And yes, guys, as always, I'm amazed by the amount of support that you guys provide and the questions you guys ask and the discussions and how supportive you guys are. It's super duper amazing to see how many people are now being a part of the study groups, how many people are reaching out, how many people watch the videos, and yeah, just share the name. And I'm humbled. I remember when no one really wanted to watch the videos, and no one really was reaching out, and now a lot of people are, and I'm overwhelmed. I appreciate all of the support, everything that you guys do. It makes it easier for me to do the things that I do. And my challenge to you guys this week is to reflect on the positive things about yourself that can lead you to getting closer to passing the exam, whether it's how many times you've taken the exam, positive attributes, things that you do for other people in their life. So my challenge to you guys is to focus on you guys this week, to get better connected with you guys yourself, because as I said, it's going to be you in the exam room by yourself with the skills and knowledge and confidence that you bring in there. With that being said, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video. Have a nice week, and reach out and send me an email if you have any questions, feedback, comments, anything like that. Take care, guys.